Welcome back to Rollin with Olan. I'm Jeff Olan, your host. So today, of course, I have Brande Roderick. I say, of course, not that you guys knew that, but Brande Roderick is an actress, producer, director, model, author, entrepreneur, mom, and we could go on and on and on. Brande, thank you for coming on.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, Jeff. This is awesome. I love the title of your show, Rolling with
Let's do
Olin.
it.
Cool.
Do it. Do it. She's going to do the brand song and all that too. We haven't talked about
There
that.
you
Well, thank
go.
you very much. Let's kick into gear here, Brandy. Let's talk about you and your incredible story, your incredible life. I did a little bit of research on you, of course, and I mean, let's just talk about it, acting first and foremost. You got into it, I think, when you were like 6 years old. Didn't you do your first like little skit or something? I don't know if that was for your family or was that on stage. Can you tell us about that and also just kind of dive into like where you grew up?
Well, I grew up in Northern California, in Northern California wine country in Sonoma County. And the 6-year-old thing was I used to put on performances in our living room and put plays together with all the neighborhood kids, and then I'd go around to all the neighbors and sell tickets to come watch the performance, and I'd set up all the chairs in the living room, and I was producing even back then. And so that was kind of how everything started, but I've always been, I'd had a love for acting from as far back as I can remember.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. I mean, look, to sell tickets at 6 years old, that's pretty incredible, and that's kind of where you started learning your business.
Yeah.
So you say like from way back. So what's your recall on like about how old you were? Was it around that age or whatever where you started having these dreams of being an actress?
Yeah, I mean that's how far back I go with the thoughts of it, but it carried on through, junior high taking the drama classes, high school taking the drama classes, and then and I graduated a year early from high school because I felt it was a waste of time and I wanted to get out and start my life and my career and all that good stuff. So I went to college, early and was taking college courses when I was in high school. And I minored in theater and, went as far as I could in Northern California. San Francisco, you have, your independent films, you have, extra roles in big blockbuster films. Like I was in The Rock with Nicolas Cage and Metro with Eddie Murphy and these kinds of things. And then I did Nash Bridges with Don Johnson. He did a couple episodes of that, but you can only go so far. You can't you have no big breaks in San Francisco, right? So at the ripe old age of 22, 23,
Ooh,
I said, I'm not getting any younger, I better move to Hollywood.
yeah.
And so I packed up a U-Haul, sold my car, and moved to La La Land. Slept on my friend's couch for like the first month before my room was ready. Had no car, so my roommate, he let me, Leonard Jackson, let me use his car, and it didn't have first gear, so you had to start it in second gear.
One foot out there pushing.
You know, but like I landed my first, acting gig in
At
LA in that
23?
car. Yeah, yeah,
Was that Beverly Hills 90210?
it was.
Ah,
That's what it
that
was.
was
Yes.
your first. So that was your first role in. I mean, you literally rolled into LA,
Yeah.
and you were at that point in time. Did you go out and audition for that? Is that how you got the role?
Yeah. Yep. I auditioned for that. I had started acting classes.
Hmm.
Um, and that was my first speaking role. So I had gotten other little things, I think, here and there, extra stuff, but that was the
Yeah.
first real gig. The speaking role was that.
So did you have an agent at that time, or did you do that on your own, like through at the time backstage, or actually Drama Log maybe was around then?
I don't remember. I think I had like a little manager that I probably got from backstage.
How little was he?
um, Yeah, gosh, I can't even remember. My memory is terrible, but
Yeah.
it
Well,
probably I probably did have somebody that was sending me
could
out.
help you. Yeah.
And then as time went on, when we got computers, I was able to submit myself on auditions, right? When you could do all the background stuff. Um, but yeah, yeah,
But
it started
but
out small.
so tell us about that first role on 90210. That was a couple of lines. I mean, you were in the scenes with
Hmm.
like the main actresses and all that and actors, right?
Yeah, it was Tori Spelling and Vanessa. What was her name? The brunette, the real pretty girl that used to be popular back then.
Oh,
Oh shoot!
gosh, wait, not Shannon. Shannon?
What?
Shannon Doherty? Was she on that?
No,
I
it
mean,
wasn't
that was
her.
a
It
long
was
time ago. Everybody, my mind's going too, and
ah,
we're having a
God,
hard time today trying to
I
figure that out.
know. If it was last month during
Vanessa
dry,
Hudgens. Yeah,
if it was during dry January, I would remember everything. But
yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go. There you go. Well, look, you've been out.
yeah,
You were on that. You were on the Love Boat. You were on the TV show Jesse. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Just
just
shoot
shoot
me,
me.
I believe.
Yep.
But then after all that, and you were going out quite a bit. Then your big break happened.
Yeah.
And in the year, let's see, it was April 2000, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. April 2000, you were
Hmm.
selected as Playmate of the Month for Playboy
Yes.
magazine. Correct?
Yes. Yes.
Wow, wow, Brandy. Tell us
Yeah.
about that. I mean, that was something else. I mean, for anybody that doesn't know, look, Playboy. I don't know what's happening with it right now, but that was the biggest magazine of that type ever. And
Yes.
I know they kind of went down for a little bit. I don't know where they're at right now, but at that
Yeah.
point in time, tell us about that time in your life. And we know, we're going to share with the audience what happened after that. But
Yeah.
please share what happened. Like what was your test for Playboy? What did you have to go through? What was that like?
Um. Well, it first involved a bottle of champagne.
Only one?
Had to loosen up, But yeah, so you do the test, and my original, no, my test Hef really liked, and I actually really liked that too, and maybe it was the champagne, but when we went to do my actual shoot,
Yeah.
he didn't like the first thing, the first centerfold option. He was like, no, it doesn't capture your smile. You have the best smile. Like, we're not capturing that. So we
Yeah.
had to redo the whole, and it's like a big production, these things. So we had to do a whole other shoot and do that second shoot. And then we ended up going with the first one anyway. But anyway, no, so that, tested, did the whole thing. And yeah, Playboy at the time, that was a huge dream of mine. On top of the acting, because my mom actually named me after a Playboy model.
Oh,
So
did you?
ever since I was very young, as far back as I can remember, I knew the story of how I became Brandy from, my mom. She was over, 2 weeks overdue being pregnant. So she decided to walk from her house to her aunt and uncle's house, which was like 5 miles, to try to pop me out. So by the time she got to the house, she was so exhausted, and she went and grabbed some water. She plopped on the couch, and on the coffee table was a Playboy. She picks it up and starts thumbing through it, and here's this beautiful woman with the name Brandy spelled with an E. And she's like, I want my daughter to be as beautiful as that. So I knew this story, right? So I
Yeah.
had to live up to my mother's image of this, perfect Brandy. So ever since, I can remember, I wanted to be a playmate. Even in fifth grade, my teacher would ask, what do
Amazing.
you want to be? I want to be a playmate, and then I was branded
Wow.
slut after that, of course, but
Yeah.
fifth
Yeah.
grade slut wants to be a playmate.
I'll bet. But
Yeah.
that's, I mean, what an experience. And look, I went to some of the Playboy parties and events and all that, and I certainly had my fair share of it, and it was
Yeah.
something else. But to be there for someone like you, and not only be a Playmate of the Month, but then the following year, I believe,
Mhm.
the Playmate of the Year. I mean, to be
Mhm.
selected out of, because there's, can you explain the whole Playmate of the Month and then becoming a Playmate of the Year to the audience, how that works?
Well, again, back in the olden days,
The olden days.
how they would do it is in the back of the magazine, they had a little 800, a little 900 number or whatever that you could call and
The,
select your favorite playmate. So, like in December, they showed all the playmates on the page to be select, and then the people would call in and select who they wanted to be Playmate of the Year. So there were three ways to select. That was one of the things. The second was Hef's choice, and then the third came from public relations because public relations have been working with each playmate throughout the year. Who's easiest to work with? Who's most congenial? Who's most professional? Who's the friendliest? Public relations knew that, so they would take the three votes, tie them together, and whoever the top person was from those three votes is who would get Playmate of the Year, and that's how they chose it.
well, you have all that certainly because you certainly are like one of the nicest people. You're just that. It comes out of you. So I can understand why people would vote for you, and
Thank
obviously,
you.
obviously your photos and all that. I can only imagine. I understand how part of that works because
Mhm.
as you know, we talked about this the other day. I just got into the Playboy family a little bit, but a little
Yeah,
differently, as a vendor and all that. So I kind of know how
right.
that all works, and it was great. And also, didn't you date Hugh Hefner for a short time as well?
I did. Yes,
You
for
know,
like
and
two and a
look,
half
when I met
years.
him, he was just such a great guy, such a
Yeah.
wonderful man. What was that all about when you were? I mean, what was that for about a year, 2 years, what have you?
2.5 years. 2 years, and then I went over to Hawaii and took me some time to break it off because I didn't want to hurt him. But yeah, but it was honestly a fantastic, wonderful, amazing experience for me. I get to learn so much about music. That's how my love of jazz came from him. Old movies. I mean, we
Movies,
watched three old movies, every weekend. You know,
right? Didn't he have a nice movie theater in the
yeah.
house there, and you guys would
Yeah, I
always
mean, it was really just a living room with a pull down projector,
hmm
but
hmm
yeah, that's where we'd watch movies every weekend. And then, the people I got to meet, in old Hollywood, all the old cronies, it was just an amazing experience, and the traveling and just it really was fantastic.
Yeah,
Really.
it's incredible, and it's incredible, how that all came about for you and how
Yeah.
quickly it all happened. And then at the same time, you got Baywatch, if I'm correct, literally right around the same time. Coincidence or what have you, right? But you ended up
Hmm.
playing Leah Dyer on
Yep.
like Lee Dyer, right?
Lee
What was
Dyer.
it for, like 22, 25 episodes, something like that? You were on Baywatch for a long time with Hasselhoff and them.
It was yeah, Lee Dyer, and it literally was, when you say at the same time, it was. Like, I left for Hawaii in April, my issue came out in April. And not coincidence, because Baywatch, they loved, the playmates, right? Carmen
Mhm.
Electra, Pamela Anderson, they kind of went hand in hand. So I do think that even though I blew them away with
Audition.
my screen test, because I actually auditioned for a different role. It was a smaller role. And they called me and they said, Brandy, you didn't get that role. They said, but however, we are giving you the lead role and we're writing in a character for you. And which was fantastic and so
Incredible.
amazing, because we had meetings about my life and growing up, and they were trying to make it, about my, even my dad, like he was in the Navy. And so they made my dad, in the Coast Guard, because it's, Baywatch. So that made more sense. And just, so that was really exciting that they created this, role for me. But anyway, so it happened all, simultaneously. But So I got, did the audition, and then my manager called and said, "Hey, Brandy's going to be coming out in Playboy," which got their attention, and they started, talking, and it was going to be just perfect timing, right, for me to go for publicity wise, my issue coming out and me coming on the show. They always kind of worked hand in hand, Playboy and Baywatch.
Yeah, pretty incredible though, and what an incredible time in your life. I can only imagine. I mean, just to get one of those, but then to get both, um, you know, you
And
know,
yeah, and then
huge,
Playmate of the
huge
Year.
audiences, right?
Yeah, and then Playmate of the Year. So when the
Yeah.
the season was ending, they called me and asked me if I wanted to be Playmate of the Year,
Mm.
which of course then I got Playmate of the Year. It was helped by the fact that I'm on, the number one watch show in the world at the time, so that helped get, Playmate of the Year. So everything kind of, helped each other out. They were each a platform and a springboard for each other.
Yeah, how exciting though. And that was back in 2000, 2001, and you haven't aged since, which is pretty incredible.
Darling, it's all lighting and filters.
Oh, lady. Yeah, correct. No, no, no. You look incredible, my friend. You look
Thank
incredible.
you.
Um, so the excitement, how was it working
Yeah,
with Hassel? I met
yeah,
Hasselhoff, but I
yeah.
think for you, for you, I believe I also read, and I don't know if it's still true, that that was like the best job of your career. I mean, as far as your acting,
Yep.
you got to live in Hawaii, you got to roam around the beaches, you got to hang out with everybody. I mean, what a great job! Can you tell us a little bit more about those days?
I mean, it was just it was a dream come true, I mean, to do what you love and you're passionate about, but doing it in Hawaii, frolicking in the waters with Jason Momoa and all the
Yeah.
things. No, it really was it was an amazing experience, and coming back from that, I mean, it was a time. It was the time of my life. I mean, I was on
Mhm.
top of the world.
Yeah.
Just having such a great time. I mean, that was, to be a Playmate of the Year, the number one looked at magazine in the world, and then on the TV show, number one watch TV show, all at the same time, all this, you know, um,
The
just
craziness.
excitement.
The
Yeah,
craziness around it.
it was
So
awesome.
could you go anywhere without, without cameras or paparazzi following you?
Yes, because back in the olden days again, we didn't have social media. We
No.
didn't have camera phones. So I'm thankful in the fact that we didn't have that, because I could have gotten in trouble. But it wasn't crazy like right now, the way it is. So
Yeah.
I feel really blessed that I got to actually enjoy Hollywood and enjoy the Playboy Mansion, because back in those days, you could just go to all the fun, parties and nightclubs, and back then they used to have really big fun premieres, and you could just let loose and have a great time and mingle and not have to worry about someone behind your back videoing you and they're going to post it on
Yeah.
social media. It was just the best time to be alive, the best time to be, in that sort of limelight lifestyle of Hollywood.
Yeah. And not to forget about the zoo at the
Yeah,
mansion. I
yeah,
mean, that
all
was
the
pretty incredible.
animals.
I'm sure most people don't know about that. I mean, I walked around it a couple times.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a lot of different animals back there.
Oh yeah, chimpanzees, monkeys, spider monkeys, African cranes, all the bunnies, of course, all the beautiful birds, different types of exotic birds, everything, you name it, they had it, and that was really cool.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. But it's so great that you were able to experience that. And do you still have a lot of friends in that circle, the Playboy, the Playboy group, Playboy gal?
Absolutely. It
A
really
lot.
was and is still family.
Yeah,
If you were in that world, you're friends for life, really.
yeah,
That and the Baywatch world. My girlfriends from Baywatch, I still are some of my best friends, both the Playmates and Baywatch. We're all just so close.
yeah. I would imagine. I mean, what a seriously, what a great time, like I said, in your life, and you're still working off that. You've been an actress for a long time. You've done a lot of other roles. You also did a lot of reality shows. You
Yeah.
did The Surreal Life, you did Fear Factor, but you
Hmm.
also, I mean, you worked with President Trump. You did The Apprentice a couple times. You did
Yeah.
Celebrity Apprentice. Tell us about that. You worked with quite a few people on that. Dennis Rodman, I believe, and Joan
Hmm.
Rivers, and name it.
Yeah.
I mean, Brett Michaels. Tell us about that experience. How did you get that? And go from there.
Well, how did I get it? I can't remember if my agent reached out to them or not, but regardless, I had to go meet with the producers and they wanted to meet with me to see if, I'm good enough for their show. So we met at the Polo Lounge at the Beverly Hills Hotel for lunch. And, we're talking about everything and my business acumen, all this stuff. And they're like, okay, but um, do you know celebrities? Because a big part of it was bringing on your celebrity friends,
Okay.
getting the big donors. A big part of it was that. And we're having lunch. And as they say that, I mean, timing is everything.
Hmm.
I kid you not, Brett Ratner and Russell Simmons come walking up. Hey, Brandy, what's up? Give me a big hug. And I introduce them to everybody. And they go have their lunch. And I'm like, so does that answer your
Yeah, yeah,
question?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Do
And
I
they're like,
ever?
yeah, yeah. They're like sold. Like it just so weird that right when they asked me that, here they come
That's
walking
amazing.
in and to my table. But so it was kind of like an interview process to go through. But it's funny because people think, oh, you're doing this reality show. It's all like fluff.
Hmm.
But it was freaking hard. I mean, we had to work 18-hour days,
Mm.
nonstop. And, we're really working hard. We're really trying to pull these things off. So it was hard, but I enjoyed every minute of it. I loved
Yeah.
it.
And you did a lot of homework on that, right? You really did homework ahead of time. You watched all the episodes
Yeah.
prior before you
Yeah.
ever, because you were on season two, I believe, of The Celebrity Apprentice, and then
Yep.
you came back for, what was it, Super Duper Celebrities? What was the
All,
next?
yeah, the all-star
The
celebrity
All
apprentice.
Stars. Yeah,
Yes, they got to pick their
same as
favorite
Super Duper.
ones. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely, that's how I am. Like I work hard. I make sure I want to win. I'm competitive. So I went back and watched all the shows so I can kind of figure out, how it works. So then I got called in all my favors, everyone I know in New York, everyone that knows someone in New York. I called in and I had this big, huge book that I brought with me. And so that I had all the numbers like, oh, if I need a printer, here's my guy. If I need a chef, here's my guy. If I need a
Wow.
car, if I need flowers, if I need blah, 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 blah. I had it all just ready to go so I can call and get help. Guy Fieri, I called, say, hey, can I call you if something happens, and I need, so he helped me with the ideas for my meatballs when we had a meatball challenge. And so I just came prepared. And first season I was on every single episode.
That's
I
incredible.
did not win, but I was on every single episode and yeah, had
Yeah.
killed it and had a lot of fun doing it.
I remember watching, and I remember Joan Rivers giving you
Yeah.
credit for. I mean, who? I don't know. Was she the project manager on that, and she was giving you credit, or it was you? And I don't know if it was
Uh,
Brett or. But I
she gave
remember she
me
was.
she
Yeah.
kept giving me credit a lot actually, but there was the one clip that keeps getting shown a lot is when she says when Trump said to her who was the best on your team, she said Brandy. She was the star. She was just always blah blah
Mm,
blah. So I think that was the cupcake challenge. I think that was her when she was project manager.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. It's really incredible. I mean, she being on that, you being on it, Dennis Rodman,
Yeah.
Latoya Jackson,
Yeah.
um, Brett Michaels, how do you say that? Omarosa? I mean,
Omarosa.
what was she? She was on a bunch of times, it seems. Gary
Yeah.
Busey, great guy.
Gary
Gary's great.
Busey.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I
Yep.
mean, an incredible group of
Trace
people.
Atkins,
Yeah.
Penn
Trace.
Teller,
Yeah. A
Penn
lot.
Gillette, Penn Gillette,
Yeah. Penn
Penn
Jillette.
and Teller. So
Was
Penn
it
Gillette.
Yeah. And Melissa Rivers was on, I think. Wasn't she on with
Yeah.
her mom? Or, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I mean, incredible. So are
Yeah.
you still friends with some of those people?
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to, well, Dennis Rodman and I have the same, one of our agents are the same. So I've known him forever. But yes, a lot of the people, it's kind of, again, one of those things, once you do a show like that or whatever, you're always like in the family.
Yeah,
Like I just did Adam Carolla's show, and Clay Aikens was there too. So the three of us, were there, and we were all just alumni. So you kind of have that, feeling of
yeah,
kin, when
yeah.
you've all experienced
Well,
it.
it might be a little too early, but you're in this family too of Rolling with Olin. Just so you
That's
know,
right.
you can
So
come
we're
back
always,
anytime. Come back
yep.
anytime.
So anyone that's been on your show, I'm going to have that, kindred feeling with
That's
them.
right. You are, and you and I talked about a couple of them where we're gonna connect you. Look, you're a very smart businesswoman, and you authored a book as well. I don't know if it's
Hmm.
bounce, don't break.
Hmm.
Um, it's a guide
Yeah.
to life, love, and success. How
Yes.
did that all come about?
It started because at the mansion, all the young girls kind of looked up to me. I was kind of like the mother hen.
Yeah,
And so I was always giving advice.
yeah,
And so somebody at one point said, "You should write a book, because you're always giving everyone advice." So it kind of started from that. And I wanted to kind of give these, doesn't have to be just girls, but young girls, advice on things that I did throughout my life and career, what worked and what didn't work, right?
yeah.
So learn from my mistakes and maybe learn from something that worked, and give them a little insight on, something that might help them through
Right.
life.
So did I say it right? The title, because it's
Yeah,
also
Bounce Don't Break, Brandy's Guide to Life, Love, and
okay,
Success.
great.
Yeah.
Because it was like in here, I'm like, I want to make sure that people get that. I mean, you've done
Yeah.
so much, and like I said, with the introduction, you're an entrepreneur across the board. We could see in the background you have, goals up, and I know you have a lot of goals and a lot of things that you have done, and you've done them incredibly well. Let's talk about Wineville. We
Mm-hmm.
see it behind you as well. We know about it. I know about it. You have just directed your first feature film, Wineville. How did that all come together, Brandy?
Well, it came together because during COVID times, right? There's no work, can't work really. And I'm not one to kind of sit around. I'll get antsy. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to sit around and wait. So I'm going to create something myself. And so it kind of started from that. And I needed to figure out, well, what kind of movie am I going to make? And for me, horror genre is just, it's in my blood. It's in my family's blood. Like my parents are sick and twisted, and so am I. I'm demented in the head. We did crazy things like when I was, I don't know, 9 or 10. We'd be watching, like Rabid, for instance, and I'd get up and go to the bathroom, and when I'm coming down the dark hallway, all of a sudden this person's laying on the ground, grabs my leg, starts biting it with foam coming out. It's my dad. He put toothpaste in his mouth, and so they were really kind of sick like that. And instead of like My Little Pony birthday parties, I had all the kids come over and we'd watch, Sleepaway Camp, and then go outside and camp out in the backyard. My dad would come out with a knife and try to scare everybody. So anyway, so it was like, for me, it was going to be easy to be horror. And then, I'm such a business person, of course. I called all
Yeah.
my friends, producer friends in Hollywood, and asked, what genre of film, what makes money, or what's easiest to sell.
Hmm.
And at the time, it was horror. So I took that, and I ran with it, and came up with, along with some help from amazing Richard Shankman, came up with this sick and twisted idea and this story, and put it together, and away we went.
Yeah. So how did you land Richard? And because look, writing a script can be so difficult, and you also have to make sure that you've got the right writer to write what you want.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
what was the collaboration with him to get it to where you were happy?
um well, the good thing, thankfully, about Richard and I is we really agree on like 99% of the things. And then the stuff that we didn't agree on, we always compromise and meet
Mhm.
halfway. Um, so I really met my match with him, meaning like he is just as sick and twisted as I am. And he actually might even be just a little bit more, because there is a scene in the movie that is really sick and twisted. And he had to convince me to do that, which usually
Only
I was
one
the
scene? I
one.
think there's more.
Yeah, no, no, that was just one of where, kind of pushed it
Right.
over the envelope. But no, so for us, like going back and forth, we really listened to each other's notes very well, and worked very well together on the story creation part of
Yeah.
it.
Everyone should check it out, Wineville, and it's a period piece. You
Mm-hmm.
set it in 1970s.
Yep.
To get cars for 19, because I produced a horror film also set in the 80s. So to
Uh-huh.
get cars, to get everything, I mean, people can't imagine what you have to like kind of match or at least kind of figure out. Do you have any
Yeah.
stories about that as far as the period and working with that?
Right. Well, one thing I talked to my friend Chris Tuffin, who's a producer, and I was telling him I was going to do it. Can I do it? I asked him, should I do it? Can I do it? Is it going to be really expensive? He said, well, the thing is, you have to make sure you check every single thing, because people will be looking and say, that's not from 1978. That's from blah, blah, blah. And that people will really do that. So, that's one thing I'm so glad he gave me that advice, because I was constantly looking, and there was one scene where I looked up and I'm like, that thermostat looks like a new thermostat. So we had to like cover the thermostat. So we caught that. So I was
Take that out in post,
constantly,
maybe, or what?
no, we covered it with a
Okay.
coat, actually. Um, you know, real high tech. But there was something that we caught in post that we did not catch on the day, was which I didn't even think of it. Thankfully, I think Richard found it. A f- not a not a fire hydrant. Shh. Uh,
Oh, one of
what
those one of those
what the,
shirkles. Uh, um,
fire extinguisher? Okay,
oh, there you
there was
go.
a fire extinguisher on the wall, and he's like, I think that's like looks kind of new, and it was a newer one, so we had to take that out and post.
Wow.
Um, but luckily, the car situation, all the car, I only had to rent one car, and we had like six cars, I think, in there. So between all the friends and the property owners, we were able to come up with all the cars that were in that era, which was great. And of course the clothing's fun, but yeah, it's, you have to really pay attention.
You do every little thing, every detail,
Yeah.
and that's and that's look, you have to do that in any film, but especially in a period piece.
Yeah.
It's so important. Like you said, the wardrobe, the props, the cars, the you know
The
the
hair, the makeup.
right, everything across the
Yeah.
board. I mean, there's so much. So there's
Uh,
so much preparation that goes into that. But tell us, well, first of all, Brandy is the star of it as well as the director, first time director. Tell us about the preparation that you put in to it as a director.
um,
It's not a
well,
trick question.
there's so much that goes into it. I mean, for me, I mean, it's, I produced it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we
Going
can
back and
go
forth, producing,
with
acting, directing.
everything. I mean, the casting, the creating the story, finding the writer, coming up with getting everything that the caterers, the makeup, that, I mean, there's anything you can imagine with a movie, I had to
Every-
do.
Right.
And then of course there's post, which, and you were talking about 70s. Another thing is, of course, color correction. So making it,
Mhm.
like gritty and the right color and everything to make it look like it was made in the 70s. But the music, finding a wonderful composer. And for me, that was one of the key things that helped my movie not be like a low budget cheeseball movie, is not using, somebody that's going to put in music and, with fake synthesizers and just take shit off the internet. We
Mhm.
actually had a composer, and he and his wife were playing the music and the cellos and the strings and the piano and all the things, which brought a richness and a realness and a 70s vibe to the
Yeah.
film. Um, so that was one thing that, was really important in post. But and the sound, like listen, creating like, there weren't enough, like there was pretty birds, right? Like, so let's say it's this horror movie, but all I'm hearing throughout is these pretty birds. I'm like, take out the pretty birds and put in black crows, like we need it to be spooky, stuff like that. There's
Well,
just
it
so
is
much that goes
spooky.
into it.
Well, also look, like you said, putting it all together. It's not easy producing a film at all, and then casting, and then getting the cast and getting everybody together on the same page, getting
Yeah.
your crew, getting the cast, but also you're wearing so many hats as the producer, as the right, getting the script written correctly, getting your cast, getting your crew, so many different hats, and yet you then have to pop into acting and directing. And so we get back to directing. Your first film here. I mean, what was that like to direct your first feature? I mean, tell
Well,
us about that.
I will say that I have to give credit to Richard Shankman because he is an amazing director and he was my mentor and he was there for me from start to finish. So on the day when we're actually shooting, he's there, by my side through the whole thing so that I can put out fires as a producer, constantly running around and then try to hurry up and get in character and then get, into a scene. So I personally would not do everything again, all of it,
Yeah, it's a lot.
do one man show. But having Richard there with me, it was really more like a co-directing partnership. I learned so much from him,
Yeah.
so
Well,
much.
a great job on that. But look, we go back to like you talked about, like with The Apprentice, the 18 hours. Anybody who's never done a film before, we're talking about 24 hours a day.
Yeah,
I mean, if we're sleeping for an hour or two or a couple of hours, getting some rest, that's
yeah,
what it is because so much work is going into that film.
yeah.
To get it out there, and
Hmm.
plus you're a mom, and you're not only a mom of beautiful kids, but your son was
Hmm.
actually he played a role in the movie.
Yeah.
Is your son an actor, or was that just something you just said to him? Hey, I want to throw you into this movie I'm producing.
Yeah, they were kind of doing the acting thing when I don't know, since they were like 6 and 8 years old or something. And my son was also in another movie with me where he played my son in a Christmas movie.
Mm.
So it went from Christmas to horror. So we had done something together, but this, of course, was more special. And it was funny because there's all these rules, with SAG. You can only have a kid on set for this many
Yeah,
hours, and they have to have school, and you have to have a school teacher. And but he was there with me 24/7, and we even had an RV on set, and we would sleep in the RV. So so we got around all that, right? Because he was there
yeah.
with me all the time. But no, it was really fun, and that really is one of the highlights and biggest joy for me for making this film was being able to work with him and act with him, and having that experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's just a fun thing, and especially having
Mhm.
your, any family. I did my first film, which is called Holy Hollywood. I put my mother into it, and it was
Yeah,
such a joy. So when you have somebody in your family that you could put into your film or
yeah,
TV project,
yeah,
that goes volumes.
yeah,
It's unbelievable.
yeah.
I love horror movies as well, and I was thinking just a second ago. I played a cop in the first Nightmare on Elm Street,
Ha! Oh
and I,
my gosh,
and
that's
you
awesome.
know, and which was one of my favorite films. What are some of your
Mine too.
favorite horror films?
Well, it's funny you say that, because for me, one of the biggest impactful horror films was Nightmare on Elm Street.
Hmm.
I was, I think, 14 years old, 13 or 14 years old, watching it. And me and my girlfriend had to sleep on my parents' floor that night. And we were teenagers. Like we still got so scared, And so that for me has like one of the biggest, exciting memories is that movie. But I love like all the old classics like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I also love, I don't know if you remember or saw I Spit on Your Grave, the original from
Well,
78.
let me just stop you for a second there, young lady.
Oh,
The
don't tell me, were
Mir-
you in that?
Mirzarki,
Yeah.
who was the director, executive producer of that, he also produced my movie Holy Hollywood, and his son Terry Zarki
Yes.
directed Holy Hollywood. And so, yeah, I Spit on Your Grave, the
Oh my,
original. That is amazing.
his son directed it?
No, his son directed
Yours.
directed the movie I did, which was
Yeah.
totally Hollywood. But his yeah, good friend of mine,
Wow.
and his son
Wow.
also directed the documentary for "I Spit on Your Grave" with Camille Keaton in the lead
Yeah.
there. But
I
yeah,
love
no,
that movie.
they're. I'll tell them. I'll tell them about this. Trust me.
Yeah,
It's,
I really loved that movie. I mean,
yeah,
because again, it was like that era, the beginning era of
70s.
like the badass, kick-ass chick that's not gonna, take anything, is gonna go back and get her revenge.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and that's been around forever. That movie has been around forever, just as Wineville will be.
Yes.
Where can the audience see Wineville right now?
Right now, you can pretty much see it anywhere: Amazon, Apple, Google, Tubi. Wherever you normally watch stuff, you can see it anywhere. Or if you want an autographed DVD, you can go
Mm,
to winevillemovie.com and you can get an autographed DVD. Keaton and I both sign the DVD.
that's so cool.
Yeah,
That's so cool. I mean, what a career you had. I know I've got it to you only for a limited time, and I
yeah,
really appreciate this.
yeah,
We could talk for hours and hours, and I would like you to come back. But
yeah.
with all of your success, what's on your radar for future projects right now?
Um, Well, it's hard because when you're a creative, you have so many different ideas, and I'm really good at all the sick and twisted stuff, right? Like I have so many of those stories to go, but I also love comedy. I mean, I'm a huge follower of like Leslie Mann and Jennifer Coolidge, and the Will Ferrells and Ben Stillers, of
Mm.
the world. I love that type of comedy. So I've got some of those up my sleeve as well. So as soon as I get Wineville out there and going, um,
So you have the others up your sleeve as a producer and actress,
correct.
and you
Yeah.
have your own production company as well. Do you
Hmm.
know? Yeah.
Yeah. She
So
Productions. Yeah.
that's also a help.
Yeah.
What's the best lesson you have learned from being in this crazy show business?
Well, don't give up. And when a door closes, find a freaking window to climb through.
Hmm.
Like, don't stop. You have to do what others won't do. You have to get down, get dirty. Do the hard work. Knock on the doors, do all the stuff that other people, that lazy people, won't do, because they will eventually quit. So if you keep going and keep persevering and doing all the things, you're gonna get there. You just have to keep going, and you have to have the drive and motivation, and just don't give up.
Yeah, that's really great how you said that. It's like, don't give up because, every day something bigger can happen. We
Hmm.
always have to remember that, every day we're here, we just have to make sure that we continue going, continue doing what we do.
Yeah.
Now, giving that advice is wonderful. Can you give any other advice, perhaps in your life coaching advice to anybody who might be listening, as far as whether they're actresses, actors, producers, directors? I know the no giving up, and that's big, but other life advice, just so they can get to the point where they don't ever have to, think too hard. I mean, is there anything else you could add to that?
Well, you always have to think hard. That's never going to like, it'll never be easy. I learned that when I did Baywatch and came back and had to start, like, almost start over again.
Mm,
But what I will say is I think that people need to think outside the box.
there you go.
Okay. So, for example, I know we could just be really quick. Like when I went to audition for Starsky and Hutch, Todd Phillips, Academy Award winning director, Ben Stiller in the room telling me, "Oh my gosh, we love you. We loved you on The Surreal Life. We love Emmanuel Lewis. We're huge fans of Emmanuel Lewis. What was it like working with him? The whole thing." That was in the audition. I leave the audition. I call up Manny and say, "Manny, sign an autograph to Todd Phillips." And so he signed an autograph, "Hire my girl Brandy." And I put it in a manila envelope and mailed it to Todd Phillips. And I got the job. I mean, it could be, my fantastic acting, but that he
Cool.
probably got a kick out of that, right?
Yeah.
So I always did something different. I went when I went to go meet for the casting of Joey. I saw that the woman, the casting director, had loved this particular candle, and so I when I left the audition, I sent her one of those damn candles. Sure enough, I got the job. And not only did I get the job, she always calls me back for roles at that network. So, just doing the little things, thinking outside the box and going the extra mile. A thank you note will actually go a long way, especially nowadays. Just do all the little things that others aren't doing.
I like how you put that in. It's so important because you do really have to think out the box. There's so many people that are trying to land the roles. There's so many people that are trying to get the jobs. I mean, you have to stay laser focused. And Brandy,
Mhm.
you certainly are laser focused. I mean, everything you do, you do it so well, and you've constantly been doing it, constantly going
Yeah.
after it. In your time off, what do you like to do in your time off when you're not working? And again, I just said you're constantly working, but we
Yeah.
know you have a little time off from
Yeah.
time to time. What do you enjoy doing?
I'm I know this is so boring, but I love to just grab my popcorn, grab my chocolate peanut butter ice cream, get on the couch and watch a movie. I am a movie girl. I love movies. I love all kinds of movies, and I could just watch movies all day. I would That's what I love to do. Just watch movies with my all my treats and maybe a glass of wine.
Yeah, well, it sounds great.
Yeah.
When you look back to the days you started in Hollywood, and like I said, you were laser focused. You came out here. You've done so much. But when you look back, um, and you were like just coming out here, did you ever think that you would be exactly where you are now, or um, did you think maybe things would have been a little different when you were first coming out, or what was? Can you even go
Um,
back and think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I always had big dreams for myself. I always dreamt of acting, always dreamt of being a mother. So for me, honestly, all my big goals have been met. Like if I died tomorrow, I would be happy. I did everything I could ever imagine. So now it's just about playing and having fun because I've already met all my goals. Like my goals, um, I've done it. So now it's just like, let's just play and have fun and just do what we enjoy. And so that's what I'm doing.
Good. Well, we'll stick around for a while, okay?
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere. So are in the in Hollywood right now for you? You're obviously you're out there. You're appearing all over the place with Wineville, and you're doing everything you can for
Mhm.
that. Are you also finding yourself going, as far as like auditioning now for movies and TV a lot? Because I know Hollywood's a little slower than it has been.
Yeah.
But what's that like for you nowadays?
Well, I feel really blessed because I'm a dinosaur, right? I've been in this business a very long time. So I'm lucky enough to where, of course, I audition, but I have all the people I've worked with in the past that call me because, they know I'm solid and I'm good at what I do and I'll show up and I'm professional. So I get a lot of great, wonderful, continuous opportunities. Like I'm doing a horror thriller called The Treehouse, which we're going to start filming next month, and that's kind of a poltergeist meets Stranger Things, and so I'm constantly working on not just my projects but other people's projects as well.
Nice, nice. Do you have anything else besides Wineville you might want to say right now about Wineville, or anything else that you might want to? How do people get in touch with you if they we see it on the screen probably right there?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, uh, well, we don't want that on the screen. That's my personal email.
Okay, we don't. Okay, well,
Whoopsie daisies. So yes, so I'm all over social media as Brande Roderick. Wineville Movies all over social media. You can go to winevillemovie.com. But yeah, I mean, just go out. I want everyone should support other people, right? Everyone that's listening is in the business. And I think that if we all supported each other, we'd all be like, doing quite well. So I would love it if everybody would go support an independent filmmaker and her dreams, and go watch Wineville. I mean, but you have to be sick and twisted. It is a pretty demented film.
true, but you know what? There's an awful lot of fans out there
Yeah.
for it, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of people that like uh, demented
Yeah.
and
A
horror
lot
films
of people
and
love
what have
horror.
you. But look, the fact you did it though, Brandy, the fact you did it and the fact that it's out there is, a lot of people are gonna, check it out. And I'm so very happy that you came on my show. I'd like to do this again with you sometime down the line. So thank you very much for rolling
Thank
with
you.
Olin. I really appreciate you.
Yes, well, we better do the outro, right? Rolling with Olin.
I like it. I like it. Keep it going. Keep it going.
Ah.
Let's do it.
Oh, well,
All right.
thank you.
No,
It was so good to be able to chat.
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.